She was trapped, alone in a burning house, smoke choking her lungs, until a black stranger ran straight into the flames and carried her out. He vanished before anyone could say thank you. But 14 years later, she found him and whispered something that left him frozen in place. What did she say? And who was he really? The story will stay with you forever. The sky was glowing orange. Ash rained down like snow. In the distance, neighbors screamed, but their voices felt far away, like echoes in a dream. Inside the burning house, 8-year-old Emily pressed her small hands against the bedroom window, her face smeared with soot. Smoke poured in from under the door, thick and choking. Her mother had just left minutes earlier to grab groceries. Emily had been watching cartoons. One moment, she was laughing. The next, everything was on fire. The smoke stung her eyes. She coughed violently, her lungs aching. The doorknob burned her hand when she tried to escape. Trapped, she curled up in a corner, shaking, terrified, her pink stuffed bear melting near her feet, her storybooks turning to black ash. She screamed again, but the flames swallowed the sound. And then, out of nowhere, he appeared. A tall black man, face covered in soot, kicked down the front door. His jacket was singed, his hands blistered, but his eyes were locked on hers. He didn't know her, didn't even live on that street, but something pulled him there. And without hesitation, he ran straight into the inferno, not for glory, not for thanks, but for a little girl he'd never met. He didn't speak a word, not a single question, not a single sound. With one strong arm, he shielded her tiny face from the thick, suffocating smoke. With the other, he yanked off his half-burned jacket and wrapped it around her trembling body. His eyes stung from the fumes, but he kept moving. Flames danced across the walls. The curtains ignited behind them. The hallway was closing in, fire chasing their every step. Wood beams overhead cracked violently. Any second, the ceiling would give in. Still, he didn't let go. Not when a burning plank crashed across his back, searing his skin. Not when he sliced his leg climbing over a collapsed doorway. Not even when his bare hand caught fire briefly from grabbing a molten hot stair rail. He held Emily tighter and made it to the window. With a final push, he leapt through it, glass shattering, he chasing him, and rolled them both into the wet grass outside. Neighbors screamed. Sirens wailed. He laid her gently on the ground. Emily coughed once and passed out in his arms. When Emily opened her eyes in the hospital, blinking under the harsh white lights, the first thing she saw was her mother, face streaked with tears, clutching her daughter's hand like she never wanted to let go. But Emily's first words weren't, "Where's Mommy?" They were whispered, weak but clear. They were whispered, weak but clear. "Where is he?" Everyone paused. The nurses. Her mother. "Who, sweetheart?" Her mom asked. Emily's eyes welled up. "The man who saved me." But no one had any answers. The fire department said they never saw a man exit the house. Neighbors didn't recognize him. Some believed he jumped in a car and drove away before help arrived. Others said he just disappeared into the smoke like a ghost. All Emily could say was, he was tall and he had warm eyes. Local newspapers picked up the story. Stranger saves girl from fire, then vanishes. For weeks, people searched. Reporters called him a hero. Some even questioned if he was real. But no trace of him was ever found. Until, exactly 14 years later, Emily saw a face she would never forget. Emily was now 22, focused, kind, and studying social work. Every weekend, she volunteered at shelters, helping the forgotten, the broken, the lost. She often said the man who saved her changed everything. "He didn't know me," she once told a classmate, "but he chose me." That moment shaped who I became. One cold, rainy evening at a downtown shelter. One cold, while serving soup to a quiet crowd, she noticed someone in the corner. Tall, broad shoulders, a faded scar along his jaw, and those same warm eyes she had never forgotten. Her heart skipped. Hands shaking, she approached. "Sir, were you in Crest with the night of a house fire? 14 years ago." He looked at her, paused, then gave a small, knowing smile. I didn't think she'd remember. It was him, Malcolm Hayes, a former firefighter, off duty that night, just passing through. He'd once served time in his youth and thought no one would trust his intentions, but I couldn't just drive past a burning house, not with a little girl trapped inside, he said softly. Emily sat beside him on the shelter bench, her heart pounding. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The rain tapped gently against the windows. Her eyes, now filled with tears, never left his face. "You didn't just save me," she finally whispered, her voice barely audible. "You gave me a life I wasn't supposed to have." Malcolm smiled faintly and looked away, almost embarrassed by the praise. But before he could respond, she reached out and gently took his rough, calloused hand into hers. "Please," she said, her voice shaking, "don't leave me ever again." He stared at her, caught off guard by her words. Then, after a long pause, he nodded. "I won't." Since that day, Emily and Malcolm have stayed by each other's side. They co-founded a small nonprofit together, supporting fire victims and mentoring at-risk youth. Emily proudly calls him my angel. And Malcolm? He says she saved him by giving him purpose, forgiveness, and a second chance. That fire didn't just change their lives, it created a family. If this story touched your heart even a little, then you're already one of us. Hit that like button, share this with someone who still believes in real heroes, and drop a comment below because some strangers are meant to become family. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now to join the Black Visionaries family, where we tell the stories that others forget, but you'll never forget. Your support helps us bring more truth, more heart, and more hope.